Hello everyone. Let's review first what you learned last time. Affinity diagram was introduced, which organized large amounts of research findings into clusters, which helps idea generations. Plus, midterm project preparations were announced. In today's lesson, I am going to talk about how to create a logo for your website, the final outcome of the course. Suppose you are planning a UX design and working with a designer who brings you logo design attempts. Let's go through the 3 steps that you can work with your designer for a successful outcome. Plus, once again, the midterm project is just a collection of the exercises so far by revisiting and refining them. And you will create an actual website for the final project. At that end, please note that this course gets easier in the later half of the course because it is necessary for students to learn the UX principles first, such as the UX methodologies and UX design principles you learned so far, and apply the knowledge to a website in the later half of the course. So that's why this course gets easier toward the end. And after all, it is a easy and fun course. And so, once again, at the later half of the course will be just reminders of the principles most of the time, and will provide examples how the principles are applied in existing websites. Based on that, you will simply apply to your final outcome of the course a website about yourself or a business that you are interested in. The following is part 2. The midterm project submission guide will be provided, such as the LinkedIn information recommended to be included for your explanation, in which format you are recommended to submit on LMS, etc. For example, as for which information is recommended to be included, what would you have done differently if you had a second chance? As for which format you are recommended to submit on LMS, previous student work examples will be provided. Plus, an extra credit quiz will be introduced. Let's take a look. Okay. So let's take a look at the lecture slides. We are still in define phase. And these are today's agenda. So first, part 1, we are going to talk about logo creation, which is very exciting. Always creative stuff is exciting, I think. And then part 2 is going to be about extra credit quiz that you can submit along with your midterm project, and you can get extra credit. And number 3 is midterm project presentation guide. Okay, so let's take a look. First, when you create a logo, there are some very good steps that you definitely want to consider. We are going to cover 3 steps that are very clear and easy. So let's take a look at that. So suppose you are a planner planning a UX design and a designer brings you a logo design. Let's go through the 3 steps that you can work with your designer very effectively for a successful outcome. So this designer says to you, could you confirm my logo design? And the next page, it shows all these logo examples here. So first of all, as you know, logo is a visual representation, such as a symbol for an organization to identify its products, to tell you its definition. So for you to create something like that, a visual representation, there's this creative process that you definitely want to consider. So to identify, you need to base on the facts of your project, such as persona. If it is just nice to look at, and if it is not based on the facts you found through your process, the creative process, you cannot clearly communicate your identity to your users, because you're not connecting to the factors of your users you found through the process. So, for example, in the discover phase, which you basically execute research, if you do not have enough research findings, such as like what your users like to do, or what their hobbies are, or which foods they like, etc., then without such enough information, any executions you perform based on that, like any logo making that you do based on such a weak research results, then basically your logo is going to feel random, because if you do not have any concrete background information there, based on what are you creating this visual representation? So just like this phrase says, you are basically representing this content, the research findings. But if you do not have these research findings, then what are you representing? So it is likely that you are going to visualize something based on like whichever is in your brain, etc., or in your designer's brain. So that's why I said it's going to be random. You know, it's going to come from somewhere, maybe something that you or your designer thought it looks nice, but that is just I have to say random, because they don't necessarily connect to the contents, meaning the information about your users. So you definitely want the step-by-step creative process when you do a creative project such as logo making. Yeah. So the importance of process that has been emphasized a lot, actually, in the history of design. So you definitely want to keep that in mind. Basically, design is composed of idea generation and visualization, meaning if you miss the idea generation part from the process, you are missing the half of a design outcome, which is huge. So, as I said, logo, that's a representation of the identity of an organization. And so you definitely need this content part before you visualize it, before you visually represent it. So idea generation, that's the part where you do the research and come up with this idea, how you want to visualize it. And after that, in the process of visualization, you start sketching and you complete the visual representation. So, once again, if your user likes to read books, then the focus of your visual representation should be something related to reading books instead of watching car racing, right? Yeah. So these connections are definitely very, very important. So keep in your mind that design is basically composed of idea generation, where you develop the content into an idea, and then after that, when you have that prepared, then you can move on to the visualization. So this design a visual communication it is composed of two parts: idea generation and visualization both. Okay, so now in step 2, after confirming if the idea of the logo reflects the facts found in the discover phase, you need to check if the logo is visually pleasing. So does it look good? That's what your designer is asking you. So before this slide, I was emphasizing on the connection between the content of your logo, such as what your users like to do. And I said, and I was talking about book reading. But in step 2, of course, it's a visual communication. So you need to confirm if the outcome looks nice. The representation is pleasing to the eyes. So for that process, these are what I would like to provide for your support. So here are some reliable branding companies that you are recommended to take as reference. So first, I would like to recommend Pentagram. It is a well-known company whose clients includes the organizations and companies that you should know as well, such as MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, and many other, such as like Tiffany and Co, etc. So definitely Pentagram, it is a leader, so you definitely want to know about them. And then let's move on to the next slide, and it shows Landor and Fitch. That's their official name, full name, and the company's well-known client you should know is Apple. Yeah, Apple Corporation. So so Landor, it's a very respectful company. I mean, Pentagram, I respect them a lot, but Landor, I said they are very respectful also, just because the company policy includes their designers to do hand sketches before jumping into computer work. And then I think that's very respectful, because that might require a lot of patience from the designers, and I have design background, and it is understandable. We might even complain about that policy, but human beings, we can elaborate our thoughts, our ideas even better when we use our hands sometimes. Not necessarily like 100% every single time, but it's been proven through research results, reports, that humans can generate better ideas by using our own hands instead of like jumping onto computer step and start working on computer right away. Yeah, so having such like humane or human understanding policy, I find it's very respectful in this digital era. Yeah, so so that's that. And then let's move on to the next slide. So step number 3. So now your designer says, okay, I'll refine with golden ratio. Thank you. Okay, so what happened there? So sometimes a design process can be difficult. Creating something, it can be painful, but it's worth it. That's why artists such as like myself, we still love it. We are hungry artists, but we still love it. we still do it. We still stay as artists. So it can be difficult, but it's worth it. So trust me, please. So for example, whichever you and your designer try, the logo that you guys are working on might not look nice. Yeah, that actually happens all the time. Yeah, so don't surprise, okay? If that happens to you, like during the school years, university years, or when you work in the real industry, don't surprise. That happens all the time. Then you can suggest to the designer to apply the golden ratio to the logo design. So here comes this human factors based principle. Again, the beauty of UX study. So user experience study, it is about human beings, right? We are learning about human beings, and human beings, we have certain principles. And so very basic stuff, very foundational or fundamental stuff, which can be very simple, it can help our work to be successful, like amazingly. So I think you've seen and could feel how these simple principles can make our life easier, and how amazing that is, meaning, which basically means how amazing we are, we as human beings. So golden ratio, that's the ratio, like proportion, that human eyes feel like the optimal beauty aesthetics. So whichever is created in golden ratio, it is going to look nice to human eyes. So that's simple, very simple as that. So for example, this painting right here, yes, the golden ratio that has been used since long years back in the past still works great. So that's why these are called principles. They don't change. They just stay the same with all the time, and they just work all the time. So after all, this I don't know, this world sometimes feels just very simple and just easy to live, and very interesting, because the simple principles work in very successful ways and very pleasing, and even in like high-end ways. So this painting here, it's got 1 to 1.618. Yeah, so I just read this proportion there of golden ratio. So Mona Lisa, this famous painting, is using golden ratio. And if you move on to the next slide, these famous logos such as Twitter, Apple Corporation, Pepsi, and National Geographic, these are using golden ratio also. So not only classical paintings such as Mona Lisa, but also these modern logos in today's society, they use golden ratio just so often. So often, yeah. But of course, so these circles are coming from the golden ratio that you saw in the Mona Lisa's paintings case in the previous slide. So you saw a curvy line there. Okay. Yeah, curvy line there, but these squares are represented as circles here. So they are actually the same thing. These circles and that swirl line that you saw in the previous slide, they are the same stuff. And as you can see, these logos, they do fit into this golden ratio circles. So Twitter logo, I don't know, it might feel a little bit too complex, but take a look at the circle on the bird's head. That circle, that same size circle, has been used to create the curve of this peak. These curves right here, and also these wings, they got the same size circles as well. And if you move on to this Apple Corporation logo, you find the same size circles left and right, and smaller, but the same size circles at the bottom. And even the smallest circle of the golden ratio, it fits to this margin or space in between these two circles there. Yeah, so things can be just very accurate and visually just amazingly pleasing. So these principles, they are applicable even in contemporary senses. Okay, so oh, one thing that I have to mention that I would really like to mention is that the designers of these logos might say that they did not intentionally apply golden ratio, which should be just fine. I mean, they wouldn't lie about their works. So what happens is that there are designers whose eyes are gifted so much that even if they do not intentionally use golden ratio, but as they work on their own and as they try to find the optimal, the best looking logo design, they just for some reasons just automatically do this golden ratio thing. You know what I mean? They don't intend it, but their result shows that their eyes were somehow creating this golden ratio. So it's good for them. They are gifted, they are talented, and it's such a good thing for them. Yeah, good for them, definitely. So you will hear that these logos did not intend golden ratio. Then as I explained just before, that's what happens. The designers did not intend, but somehow their results show that, and it makes sense. The designers know what looks good, so somehow they get the golden ratio after all, which I have seen happening multiple times, even from my students. Yeah. And here, you guys are not in like design departments when you take this course, I think, but let's try making a logo, because even if you're not a designer or a potential designer, the number of cases where you need to create a logo is increasing in recent years. We will use Canva, which is very easy to use. So what I meant by that is that these days logos are just very necessary. Whichever business you are involved, many cases businesses need a logo. And nowadays, not necessarily only the designers, but the employees, they get to create logos as well. So knowing how to create logos, I think that's a good thing. And we are going to use this template website called Canva. It's very easy to use, and it's very popular nowadays because it gives you great results. So this is from Canva websites, and you can type in a keyword for you to search for templates. So I typed in logo, and these are what I got. So I have a variety of logo examples here that I can customize. And let's continue. So after you select a logo template, it is going to give you this workspace that you can customize. So this is the original, but you can double click on each component of the logo, such as the graphic or the text part, and then you can start customizing it. And when you're done, you click on the either copy link so that you can paste the link in the LMS as your assignment submission, or you can download this file and submit the file to LMS. Either way, it's fine. So you do whichever feels comfortable for you. And then here, what you are looking at is that share your designs with others. That's what it says in the popping window, and it gives you this address there. So you can just simply click on copy to do so. And this is when you open a PNG format that you downloaded to your computer. And here, click on the arrow to go back to where you can type in a keyword for the next logo design. So you can try, you can make multiple attempts. Yeah, so that's how you can go back and try using different templates. And click on new page to add a new design to the same URL link. Okay, if you would like to add. So here, search with a new keyword to start from scratch. Yeah, so you can do that too. You can start the next one by typing in a keywords there, then you can start like fresh new. So that was how you use Canva, and now let's try Adobe Express. It is slightly different, and I think it's good for you to know some options for you to choose. So either you use Canva or Adobe Express, doesn't really matter. It depends on like which tool feels comfortable to you. Okay, and so you should log in and search for our logo templates. Yeah, and of course you can log in with these like other accounts, which is easy, and then you type in a keyword to come up with all these. And I think you know what to do next.